Welcome to Detroit's Darkest Times. This is part 3 of the Jimmy Hoffa story. And we have new information. So we're going to get into it. We got a lot to unpack today. So just be patient. And we're going to just start this segment off by we're going to just turn this story basically into a football game. And what I mean by that is you're going to have two teams. You're going to have the P team, which is the people. And then you're going to have the A team, which is the authorities. And right now, on this story, the P team's got the ball. They're on the 20-yard line. And the reason for this is what we're trying to do is make a touchdown. And when we make a touchdown, that means that Jimmy Hoffa's remains are recovered from the Renaissance Center. So that being said, we're going to start the story. Those of you that's been keeping up with the story knows a little bit about it, but new listeners that ain't familiar with the story, we're going to have to start it from the beginning just so the new listeners can understand what the situation is. But on this audio, we have more information to add to it. So just be patient as we go. Okay. On July 30, 1975, Jimmy Hoffa was at his residence. And he had a photographer come to take some photos of him earlier that day. They took the photos. He told his wife that he's got a meeting to go to in the afternoon. And he should be home around 8 o'clock. So he gets the photos done. He heads out. He's supposed to meet up with some guys at the Red Fox. This is a restaurant on Telegraph Road at that time. So he goes to the Red Fox. He's waiting for the guys to show up. But they don't show. So he goes and calls his wife. And then he tells her, hey, the guys didn't show, so I'm going to stop by and get some steaks, and I'll be home, and I'm going to cook them tonight. So anyways, the guys finally show up. They were just late. When they show up, he gets in the car with them. And this right here, this part right here catches me, which I'm going to, put my thoughts in with the story. But with him getting in the car with the guys, and there's 3 guys in the car. And what he should have did at this time is he should have drove his own car and just followed them. But he didn't do that. He left his car in the Red Fox parking lot. Then he gets in the car with these guys. They head out. Now, there is a story at the Red Fox. I don't feel it myself because, like I've told people in the past on my channel, that, you know, when I hear a story, I can almost most likely say if it's horseshit or if it's a solid story. Anyways, this part of the story, before they leave the Red Fox, when Jimmy Hoffa gets in the car, some folks say that the car almost ran into them and they made eye contact with them, and it looked like they was holding somebody down in the car. I really think all that is just made up just so they could be a part of the story. I really don't think there's any truth in that, to be honest with you. But that's a piece that's out there. That's why I wanted to put it in this story. And this is part 3 of the Jimmy Hoffa story. But anyways, they leave out the Red Fox. They shoot straight to the Renaissance Center. Now, there is another story as they leave out the as they leave out the Red Fox restaurant, there's another story. I don't see it, but it's just another story that's out there. That the 1975 Mercury Marquise, maroon in color, that picked Jimmy Hoffa up, they made a stop behind the residence. And I'm not backing this part of the story because I just don't feel it, you know. And but that's just another part of the story, that somebody's saying they stopped behind somebody's house, and you know, and it's just hard for me to comprehend, because the thing is, I mean, could they have stopped behind somebody's house? My thought is yes. And the reason I'm saying yes, because there's only 2 things that happen. They either stop behind somebody's house on the way to the Renaissance Center, which I don't think that happened myself. I think they just went straight to the Renaissance Center. But there's that story's out there that they had made one stop, not to go in somebody's house. It was behind somebody's house. And the only way I would see that happening is if they did that to break Jimmy Hoffa's arms and break his legs, and then put him back in the car. But I really just disregard that piece, because they could do that once they get down to the Renaissance. You know what I mean? So I don't see the purpose of them stopping anywhere to do that and then driving down to the Renaissance. So that's just a piece that's out there. That's why I wanted to bring it up in this part, because I don't want to leave no rock unturned. You know, I would really want to give y'all the everything I got. I want to give it to you. You know what I mean? And then you can use your own opinion on what you believe and what you don't believe and all that, you know, because everybody's going to have a different opinion. But here at Detroit's Darkest Times, we try to give, you know, the facts, everything we know about, and what we think happened. You know what I mean? So that's the reason I bringing that up. But anyways, I don't think they stopped nowhere. I do believe they left the Red Fox and drove straight to the Renaissance Center. And it takes about 25 minutes to get from there to the Renaissance Center, if not longer, depending on traffic, basically. So they get to the Renaissance Center. Excuse me. They get down to the Renaissance Center. And this is where the story gets a little hazy. Not for me, just for people listening. When they get down there, I'm gonna speed it up just a little bit, but we'll get back on track. The 1975 Mercury Marquis, maroon in color. They're out of the vehicle. The trunk's open. And this is where people think this happened, but I don't believe this happened. Okay. They think they stopped behind the house on the way to the Renaissance Center to put Jimmy Hoffa in the trunk, which I do not believe that. You know what I mean? And the only reason they think that is because the trunk was open at the Renaissance Center. But the reason the trunk was open, Jimmy Hoffa was not in the trunk. The reason the trunk was open is because there was things in the trunk that they're going to use to break his arms and break his legs. That's the reason the trunk was open. So there was no stop. It was just a straight shot to the Renaissance Center. And you gotta picture this scene, because he's at the Red Fox. He's expecting the guys. So when they show up, even though they showed up late, and he done called his wife and told her he was coming home, and he was gonna stop and get some steaks on the way home, and he was gonna cook them when he got to the house. But after the fact is when the guys showed up, they was just late. So he's expecting them, so he gets in the car with them. But if I'd have been in his shoes, and maybe many of my listeners too, I'm not, if I'd have been in his shoes, I'd have drove my own car. Because, at least if you would have drove your own car, you would have had a little bit of advantage. And then if they still would have killed you and stuff like that, then they would have had to get rid of the car also. So it had made it a little harder on them, But anyways, they go straight down to the Renaissance Center. All right. And the whole deal of the meeting is to talk to Jimmy Hoffa about, the Teamster positions. Okay, now they're at the Renaissance Center. So you got this eyewitness that came forward, Michael Yarborough. And he's talking to his sister, his sister's talking to him, and telling him he's thinking about going to college, but she's telling him, you got a kid coming and stuff like that. You need to step up to the plate and take care of your responsibilities and just maybe hold off on college. So he was thinking, yeah, his sister's probably right. So he's talking to her and he's like, hey, they're hiring down at the Renaissance Center. And this is in 1975, July 30. They're hiring at the Renaissance Center, so Michael says maybe I'll just go down there and see if I can, land a job down there as a security guard, because that's what he was interested in doing. So, anyways, they have Mayor Coleman Young, which, I know him, a lot of people knows him, or a lot of people's heard of him. But Mayor Coleman Young, he's doing a bicentennial deal at the Renaissance Center, where it's going to be a grand opening, and it's going to bicentennial is going to be the I think it was 1876, and then 1976 is when the grand opening is going to be. And that's what he had going on the Renaissance Center. And so Michael drives down to Detroit from Inkster, Michigan. And he drives to Detroit to go see about a job. Now, this is 1975, so what he's wearing Levi jeans, some green Chuck Taylor All-Stars, and a Harley Davidson shirt. And All-Stars Converse is what we called them. They were popular back in them days. Also, so was the big collar dress shirts and stuff like that. But Michael had on a Harley Davidson shirt. But anyways, he goes down there, and that's his get up, what he's wearing. So he goes down there, and at this time, you could go inside the Renaissance Center. And I know this to be true because I used to do it myself. You could go in the Renaissance Center and, wander around in there, because it was like a mall inside the Renaissance Center. And it had like a pond around the middle. And it had a lot of, people from different areas. People would be like on escalators. Wherever they was at, you could toss change into the pond and make a wish or whatever. And in the center of this pond, there was a restaurant bar. And then actually where the seats and tables was, it moved around very slowly, but it moved around, while you was, having your drinks or food or whatever you was doing. But anyways, and this place had stores in it. It had cigar stores. It had McDonald's, had arcade, had movie theater. It was just like a mall inside, for the public. You can just go there. A lot of people went there over the years. But anyways, Michael shows up. And also the security people at the Renaissance Center was suited up, That was their get up. Some people may say uniform. But anyways, he gets down to the Renaissance Center. He goes in the front. And he asks the security guard, where's the Queen America at? Because this is a staffing agency that's hiring for the Renaissance Center. And they're trying to get all these positions filled, so when they open up completely, they got all the staff they need. So anyways, the security guy tells him, says, hey, go down the escalator to the ground floor and make a right. So Michael, he goes down the escalator. When he gets down to the bottom, he makes a left instead of a right. So he goes down the hallway. And then he hears, when he gets down toward the hallway, he hears there's a door there that says, no one beyond this point must have steel-toe shoes, hard hat, and safety glasses. But he hears somebody screaming, help, help. So he's like, he's going to go in there, and because he thinks it's a construction worker and he wants to go in there and help him. And at this time, Michael Yarborough is 18 years old. So he knows he ain't supposed to go in that door, but he hears the guy hollering for help. So he opens the door. He goes down the steep ramp. And while he's going down the ramp, he actually has to start running because that's how steep it is. And he kind of hurts his back a little bit while going down the ramp. But as he still hears the guy hollering, help, help. So he's trying to, get to where the sound's coming from. And then he looks up and there's plastic hanging. There's yellow cords everywhere with lights all over the place, basically a construction site, There's dirt on the floor and everything. Well, he hears the guy yelling for help, and he sees two men carrying another guy. And basically, when he's saying carrying the guy, they got him, one man's got under his arm, and then the other man's got the other under his arm, and they're kind of like carrying him like that, basically carrying him and dragging. So anyways, they take him to this area where it's like a tube type, but it's concrete. It's like a tube type, about big as a round of a swimming pool that people would have, out of ground swimming pool that people would have in their backyard, about that big around. And a lot of it's been filled with concrete, and then there's another section that they're fixing to pour concrete in again, So what he sees is, when he sees them dragging the guy, he also sees the 1975 Mercury Marquis, maroon in color. He sees it. He sees the driver in the driver's seat. And he sees a cement truck that's spinning around slow. And then they got another guy that's running a jackhammer, and he's basically trying to ground out the guy hollering for help. But Michael can still hear him because he's close enough to hear him. So what had happens is they throw the guy in the hole, and Michael Yarborough is witness to all this. Eye-ear witness. And he throws him in, and the cement truck starts to spin fast, and then they actually pour concrete into the basically the tower of the where there was construction at, and they throw them in there. So basically what they did is they broke both his arms, broke his legs, so that way he couldn't walk or he couldn't fight or he couldn't try to climb out the hole or whatever as the concrete's pouring in there. All he could do was just lay there. There was just nothing he could do. Also, he couldn't fight back and, put up a fight or, something like that. So that was the purpose of breaking his arms and breaking his legs. And once they retrieve his body, the autopsy will show that he has 2 broke legs and 2 broke arms. So, that being said, that happens, and then Michael Yarborough looks to the side and he sees another dude and he's coming toward him. And he's like, hey, if you don't get out of here, you're going to be next. And he opens his jacket up, shows him a gun, and then he takes his glasses off. And, he's got this evil look. So Michael throws his hands up in the air and he says, hey, you ain't got to worry about me. I'm out of here. So he leaves. But as he gets about 10 or 15 feet away, he looks out the side of his eye and he noticed the man's coming at him. So then he takes off running. And then he gets into the building, running down the hall, finds a restroom. He goes in. He goes into the first stall, and then he closes the door and he, gets up on top of the toilet. And at this time, he's scared shitless. He actually pees on himself. And he's just scared, And so he's up there, and you could see underneath the toilet stall door, and he sees some black shoes walk toward there, and he was thinking the guy was going to push the door open and shoot him right there, But the guy just turned around and left. So you can only imagine if you put yourself in that position, how you'd feel, So basically he was scared shitless, to be honest with you. 18 years old. And he was scared. And had good reason to be, too. Anyways, he waits for a little while. He comes out. He goes down the hall. There's some more doors. He opens the door, and it's right there where the cement truck and 1975 Mercury Marquise was at. But now the only thing out there is the cement truck, and the Mercury Marquise is gone. So then he gets scared and he goes back in the building and he runs to another tower. And then he goes into a bathroom over there and he gets up on the toilet and he's just waiting for a little while. And basically he just really wants them guys to get gone before he gets caught, because it feels like that guy's going to kill him if he catches him. So anyways, after he sits there 5 or 10 minutes, he decides he's going to exit the building. And then when he goes out, he sees the Mercury leaving around the 400 tower real slow. They probably was like they was looking for him, but they was probably just easing out of there, And the reason I don't think they were looking for him is because of Michael Yarborough talked to Michael Franzese. And some of you might have heard of Michael Franzese. And if people who don't, he's got a YouTube channel, and he's got his own wine he sells and stuff like that. And he's actually an old mobster, and his YouTube channel is telling his story. What happened to him, the reason he had a big downfall and had to go to jail and everything like that. But now he's out and he's just living a Christian life and, got Slices Pizza going, several. And then he's got wine going that he sells at Costco and everywhere else. And so Michael Franzese, shout out to him and his people because they're doing a good job. And he's just a good businessman. He knows how to accumulate money. But anyways, that being said, Michael Yarborough talks to Michael Franzese and tells Michael Franzese his story. And he tells him about the guy that came after him. And he was afraid that guy was going to kill him. And Michael Franzese told him that guy would have not have killed you. Because if that dude would have killed Michael Yarborough, Tony Giacalone would have had him killed. And the reason is, and Tony Giacalone, for people who don't know, he was the mafia boss of Detroit at that time. And also, if Tony Giacalone gives an order to kill somebody, that's the only person you can kill. You can't just randomly killing different people, you know what I mean? So if that dude would have killed, this is what Michael Franzese told Michael Yarborough. If that dude would have killed you, he would have been killed himself. Because there was no order to kill you. It was only an order to kill Jimmy Hoffa. So I bet, at the time, Michael Yarborough thought the dude was going to kill him. But that could have been why the dude just walked out the bathroom, realizing that the dude could have just wanted to scare him real bad where he wouldn't say anything. Or he realized that he couldn't kill him anyways because there's no order to kill him. So then he leaves. Michael Yarborough waits a little while and he gets out the building. And then he has trouble finding his car because he's nervous, shook up, scared, done peed on himself. And he just in a hell of a situation because he done seen somebody get murdered and buried with concrete. And now all he's trying to do is get the hell out of Dodge, So he finally... he has trouble finding his car, but he finally finds his car. He gets in his car. And at this time, he has a 1970 Pontiac Firebird, green in color. And then he drives back to Inkster at his older brother's house. And then he tells his sister, his brother, and his brother's wife, he's like, y'all ain't gonna believe what I seen downtown. I seen a guy get murdered and buried at the Renaissance Center. And he was telling his story to them, and then he had spent the night over there. The next day, on the news, on channel 2, 4, and 7, on the news, this breaking story of a former Teamster president is missing, and his name's Jimmy Hoffa. So Michael sees that and he tells his family that's the dude that they killed at the Renaissance Center, and he threw in a hole and buried him with concrete. And then his family says, I don't know if they mentioned this on the news or if the older family knew about it, but they said, hey, that's the mob. You don't want to say nothing about this because they're liable to kill you and our whole family. So then Michael